Welcome back to another episode of the Nerd Slice podcast. Today's going to be a very interesting episode. I'm once again joined by my good friend Tono. I'm also joined by,
What's up, guys?
He's been on the podcast numerous times before, David. We have our friend Gabby just lurking in the background. She's chilling. But the reason I wanted to bring you guys in for today's episode, and Tono already had a little sneak preview of it, but I've been seeing a lot of podcasts and a lot of videos lately of kind of people going back and looking back on, their childhood and kind of, these old cartoons, TV shows, games that they grew up with, and kind of just talking about the highlights and kind of what stayed with them, kind of what went away from their memory it was like one of those like reminiscent things where you see an image and it brings back memories you didn't even know that you had. So I thought today would be a good day to do that, kind of just talk about our favorites, maybe some things that we still have, some things that we don't. But before that, David, say hi to the people.
Hello.
Tono, say hi to the people as you do your little dance.
Hello, everyone.
And let's roll that intro music. David looks like one of those videos of the people at like church and they're just like, praise Lord to Jesus. But
no, I've always wanted to go to one of those churches. They seem like so much fun.
I've been to one, and I'm not gonna lie, it's not exaggerated. Like it's exactly.
I've been to the Hispanic versions of those.
Yeah, it's just as hype and exuberant as you think it would be. But yes, welcome back, guys. Like I mentioned, we're once again joined by Tono and David. Tono, who did a wonderful job last time editing our very first video podcast. So shameless plug, if you haven't caught that yet, definitely go check that out. But like I said, today
after you finish this one,
you gotta focus. But yeah, like I mentioned, today's gonna be a little bit more laid back. It's gonna be a little bit more of a casual conversation. So right off the bat, kind of just to start at basis, because I was telling Tono, a very big part of kind of what shapes you is what you watch, obviously, and some of that sticks with you. So before that, I have a question, just so we can kind of maybe not a little debate, but just a little discussion where. What were you exposed to more, Nickelodeon, Cartoon Network, or Disney Channel? Because I feel like those are kind of the big three of our late 90s, early 2000s childhood.
I would say I was kind of like in the middle of all of them. I probably skewed a little bit more towards Cartoon Network, but I obviously watched Disney Channel and Nickelodeon. But I think it's just I liked Cartoon Network more because I don't know. I think I like Cartoon Network more and then Nickelodeon and then last Disney.
And I would probably say the same. I was like you. I did watch a little bit of all three, but I definitely leaned more towards Cartoon Network, especially me and Don already talked about it. Once they had Toonami, and then that became our exposure to kind of more of these adult shows and anime and all that stuff. So Cartoon Network had a lot of variety going for it. I feel like Disney Channel was very, very focused on like their television programming, like live action shows. So yeah, as a kid, like when you get older, it gets a little bit more engaging. But as a younger kid, I definitely think Cartoon Network and Nick were at the top tier. What about you, David?
I think the same thing, but I think my sister, she's trying to get me into like Disney Channel or ABC Family. Sorry, Freeform. Now
it's Freeform.
It's called Freeform.
Right. We're talking about our childhood. Just call it what it really is.
Yeah. It used to be called ABC Family. Let's see. Yeah, because I watch like classic like comedy sitcom shows. I would watch those. My sister would watch it, and she's older than me, so she would hog the room. She would hog the TV for me.
Did you just eat a water bottle?
No, David, continue.
Okay.
All right. Let's see what else. Oh, dude, Nick Gas was like my number one favorite channel to watch. I love Nick Gas.
I was actually gonna ask you guys. Obviously Cartoon Network, Disney Channel, and Nickelodeon were the main ones. But did you watch like their little subsections, such as Toon Disney, which then eventually turned into Disney XD, and then
before that it was Jetix.
It was Jetix, which was Jetix. By the way, little memory that I may bring back: Super Robot Monkey Team Hyperforce Go. Just saying, Jetix is best programming. I'm gonna say
that is a mouthful. Holy crap!
And then Saturday morning cartoons were also a thing. Cartoon Network kind of had that Warner Brothers, the Kids WB going on in the morning. We had the infamous Four Kids, you know, where Sanji is licking a lollipop instead of smoking cigarettes. So, you know, we did have
Tsunami.
But it had good shows. Four Kids had good shows.
Yeah, I mean,
was Four Kids a channel?
there was Four Kids.
Wasn't Four Kids?
No, Four Kids was like a
was a program.
Four Kids.
like a program.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like Four Kids was part of Toonami, and they were just like the company that got the things from overseas.
Well, I remember Four Kids being very exposed early on from Kids WB, because Kids WB had a lot of the same programming, such as
Justice League,
Static Shock, Shaolin Showdown, which, by the way, fun fact, Shaolin Showdown was remade like 5 years ago, but it was terrible. Like, they did a sequel series, but all the Shaolin Showdowns that they did were claymation. Like, it was the weirdest, like, concept. But,
I'm not gonna lie to you, my favorite, like, I remember, like, all the stuff that I used to watch, but I think my favorite stuff on any of the channels, except Nickelodeon, on Disney Channel and Cartoon Network, my favorite things to watch were always after, like, 10 o'clock at night.
Oh, so
I would stay up from 11 o'clock to like 3 o'clock in the morning watching like American Dragon Jake Along, and then watching Toonami and Adult Swim. Like that's where I thrive.
If you went
and then during the day, Nickelodeon, like Drake and Josh.
Yeah, I mean, if you, like I said, late night programming as a kid was a lot different than during the day, because let's be honest, back in the day on Nickelodeon, if you went on at Nick at Night, it was just, you're gonna hear George Lopez as you're falling asleep.
Right, it was like always reruns of George Lopez. Oh my god.
Hey, George Lopez was a good show.
No, it was.
You're right, but after you see it for the 40th time, like
yeah, but still, it doesn't get you don't get tired of it.
What's funny is my friend was conditioned to the point, because my friend is one of those people, which if you're one of those people, nothing against you, I just don't know how people do this, where they have to fall asleep with like the TV in the background. Like, you know how there's like people like that?
I used to be like that.
My friend would have Nick at Night as like the last thing he would watch, right? So he says that he doesn't know how, but his brain was conditioned that every time he heard the George Lopez theme song, you know, oh my, he would knock out immediately. And I'm like, that's conditioning at its finest. But I mean, obviously each channel thrived, and you know, each channel gave us sort of these hits. And you know, going into kind of the next question, what shows from that era do you think either impacted you the most, or do you think kind of still stay with you? I mean, obviously we've talked a lot about Avatar and kind of the importance that Avatar has had, and I still agree that that's a show that had a lot of significance both then and now. But you know, what other shows do you think kind of, to you personally, not even from a pop culture standpoint, kind of, you know, stuck out with you, you know, for a while? You know, like I said, I've always expressed my as he drops his mic, I've always expressed my love for superheroes. So, you know, the Batman animated series, the Justice League cartoon, Static Shock, those are things that kind of still etch with me. And sometimes I go back and watch those, and the episodes still hold up. And sometimes it's crazy to think that some of the themes and the motives from these episodes still hold up. Like, you know, the Static Shock episode, you know, they had a really big PSA with the whole, you know, gun violence and all that. And that's an episode that can still be applied today, which is kind of crazy. So it's interesting to see, you know, from where cartoons and shows stand from then and now. But what about you guys? What shows or cartoons kind of have that embedded inside your mind?
Ed, Edd n Eddy.
I knew you were
just gonna say that right now. I fucking loved Ed, Edd n Eddy when I was a kid. It is still by far like one of my favorite cartoon shows ever. Like, I fucking love that show with a passion.
Did you watch the movie?
Of course I did. I watched everything.
All right, cool.
So I have a question as an Ed, Edd n Eddy fan.
What's that?
I have a question as an Ed, Edd n Eddy fan. Is Plank sentient? Okay, I'm sorry. It's something I've always wondered. I one of the Eds, whichever Ed is the one who has Plank, he talks to Plank like he's sentient, and then I believe in one of the episodes he's like, Plank told me to do this, and that kind of disconcerned me, if I'm being honest.
Johnny 2x4 that had Plank.
Johnny 2. First off, what a name, Johnny 2x4.
Johnny 2x4.
They knew what they were doing, but I mean, David was Plank sentient.
Listen, dude, you don't mess with Plank. Plank's great. Plank's an awesome character.
I agreed, but okay. I think Plank is the true villain of the show.
Now,
and I'm not gonna get into my theory.
He's not even a villain in this show.
It's
exactly.
It's interesting that you point that out because that low key segments into my next question, which is what kind of childhood cartoons or shows kind of scarred you a little bit? Because obviously,
Courage the Cowardly Dog.
I knew we were all gonna say Courage.
Everyone has the courage, which is
you want to tag in?
So off of that, which episode, which monster in Courage scarred you?
The hotel scene.
No, the mummy.
The hotel scene.
Turn the slab.
The hotel scene where you see that little girl, where you see the girl in the back, and then like she's on her back, and then you just see her face popping out of nowhere.
I just hear Gabby in the background agreeing with you. She's like, yeah.
Yeah, she's like, yeah.
That's what I said.
But dude, there were some other things. You know, I've seen a lot of people talk about some of how back in the day, some of these cartoons and shows, they went pretty dark sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, back in the day, they had no qualms just going like, oh, this is supposed to be a really happy show, and now let's go fucking dark. And it's like ridiculous.
And I think another two shows that maybe not as much as the impact as Avatar had on me, but that still always stick out to me as well, are definitely Danny Phantom and Ben 10. Those are another two shows where I feel like Ben 10 maybe a little bit more because Ben 10 kind of had Ben 10's never really stopped. It kind of just continues, and then now they have the reboot, which that's a whole.
I mean, I think Danny Phantom could have been a better show if they wouldn't have canceled it. I think that they tried to finish Danny Phantom so much.
And we're doing a tag in.
Oh, we're swapping commentators now. So, for those of you tagging in right now, we just got our friend Gabby here, who is a Cartoon Network connoisseur, I would like to say, and is probably the biggest Courage the Cowardly Dog fan that I know. So, Gabby, we were saying that obviously Courage the Cowardly Dog is a big influence on people's traumatic cartoon experiences, but other than let's say what's the most scarring Courage the Dog Cowardly Mom for you, and if there's other cartoons that you also think have that same sort of energy that you're like, oh, this is terrifying.
From what I can remember that scarred me the most was like that scene, it went to 3D, and it's like that some rectangle head looking thing. It's like, you're not perfect.
Yes.
I think it went like that.
Yes, I remember that.
That scared me so much.
I don't remember that, and I don't want to.
And he's like, yeah, and he's like, oh, but that's okay, Courage. Like, he's trying to encourage, but it's a very
that's the fish.
The bathtub. Yes, the bathtub, which is also kind of just okay. Why are you here?
It's like, oh, you have fish in the bathtub.
I kind of don't want to ever like I wasn't going to, but I don't want to ever see that because I feel like now it'll just hit harder.
Courage.
Imagine something looking at you in the screen and going, "It's okay to not be perfect."
Yeah.
It's
Courage the Cowardly Dog is definitely one of those shows where if you watch when you're older, you can pick up on a lot more than you did as a kid. But to be honest, the fact that Courage aired to a younger audience was already a miracle. Because that,
I mean, Courage, and then what was that other show called? That always every time I watched it, it was just creepy as Flapjack, I think it was called, or something like that. I think it aired closer to when we were older.
It was 2008, 2010.
Yeah.
So it was already when we were growing up a little bit more.
But I remember watching Flapjack and going this gives me heavy Courage the Cowardly Dog vibes, and it's not okay. Yeah. But yeah, Cartoon Network had those few that scared the living shit out of me.
No, and like I said, some of these cartoons were also not afraid to go into these darker moments. Another one which Fernie talks about a lot, which I agree with, was Samurai Jack. Samurai Jack was a show that never shied away from, obviously it didn't ever show him decapitating people and stuff, but it went into
Samurai Jack was more of an Adult Swim show, that made more
of both. It aired on both, so it was in this weird spot of it's a Cartoon Network show, but it's also if you're a teenager, you can like it.
I think it was rated for kids too. It wasn't rated PG or anything.
Yeah, I think it was 10 plus or whatever the ratings. I don't know the rating system for older.
I remember watching it when I was just 7, and I loved it to death. I still remember the rave scene when he went clubbing.
Oh yeah, and they're all
the colorful animation.
Oh yeah.
What's going on here?
But we're doing a podcast, George. So if you want to chime in very, very, very quickly, what show scarred you as a kid?
What show scarred me as a kid? Courage the Cowardly Dog.
All right, cool. I don't know why I expected anyone else.
There's a consensus. There is a consensus.
I don't know why.
I'll leave it at that.
That's fine. So that was George's cameo for the podcast. So we'll talk
See y'all later.
No worries. Man, we're having all sorts of guests today. That's great. But I'm glad that everyone has a consensus that Courage the Cowardly. Which, by the way, if you've never watched Courage the Cowardly Dog, you're probably not as scarred. And yeah, I mean, I'd say now that you're
let us know in the comments down below what TV show scarred you.
But yeah.
Because I'm not gonna lie, now that David's not here, Ed and Eddie kind of scarred me.
Ed and Eddie was also a very, like, not all of the episodes, but some of the episodes were definitely a little bit more jarring than others. But
I'm not gonna let this go. Plank is a psychotic serial killer.
I also like the fact, like, and I still stick to this. And someone pointed out the like, if you ever notice, like, even the character design for the characters kind of look a little bit like out there. Like, seeing them with these massive jawbreakers as a kid, I was always just like,
it is a weird show.
But Gabby, maybe you want to chime in real quick before we move on. We were talking about shows that kind of stayed with us, you know, even as we grew up. And, you know, I mentioned obviously one of the bigger ones for a lot of people was like Avatar, and, you know, you have some of these other shows that kind of people still have that etched in there. You know, is there a show that you think was like that for you personally?
As when I was younger,
Yeah,
honestly,
and
there's a lot. Like Courage the Cowardly Dog was one of them already talked. Avatar is another one. For Avatar, I didn't like it at first. I didn't really like the anime style when I was younger. It didn't until 6th grade where I started getting into Avatar, and I really enjoyed it. Another show is Codename Kid Next Door.
Okay, thank you. I was gonna talk about that one for the creeping me out. The like kids of like father that all talked in unison were terrifying for me.
Kids Next Door, and I don't even want to say spoiler alert. The show's been out for like 15 years at this point. If you haven't watched it, go watch it. The plot twist that father is Nigel Uno's uncle was like the biggest like cartoon what the heck moment in all of cartoon history. Like, that movie set up so many things.
Codename Kids Next Door could go from them like trying to like buy something for the treehouse to them like battling a like virus that turns people older, and like the existential crisis that they had to go through when they became adults. And I just like, that show was very deceptive with its messaging.
No, of course. And like we said, you know, back then, you know, cartoons had a little bit more liberty portrayed that, you know, you have other cartoons that even focus specifically on these darker aspects, like The Grim Adventures of Billy and Mandy, which had a lot of interesting topics and a lot of
it had the Grim Reaper.
Yeah, exactly. You know, you had that, or
I'm actually rewatching Billy and Mandy like at this very moment.
Oh, that's so.
How is it? Is it still creepy as hell?
Yes, but it's a lot like going back to it as an adult. There's a lot of like adult jokes and like things you wouldn't get.
Oh yeah.
So for me, I didn't really like it when I was younger because it was really creepy. It was gross. I don't like anything with boogers. Like, that's gross. But like watching it now, I could appreciate it more. It's a lot funnier for adults, in my opinion.
Yeah.
I related a lot to Billy because up until 2 years ago, I had coulrophobia, which, if you don't know what that is, it's the fear of clowns. I did not like clowns at all my whole childhood. Dono can attest to this. Clowns and me just, which is ironic because my favorite villain is the Joker, but I had a
He says that he got over it 2 years ago. He's still freaking terrified of clowns.
Hey man, I was able to watch it and I was fine, but like I said, I think it's all a mental perception, whatever. So when Billy had the episode where he was just terrified of clowns, I felt that on an emotional level. I was just like, Billy, yes. Oh yeah, they destroy us all, and then he just says destroy us all. It's also funny how, I don't know about you guys, but were there ever cartoons that your parents did not want you to watch for specific reasons? Because my mom hated Dexter's Laboratory because that's where I learned the word stupid from. Because you know how he's always like, Dee Dee, you're stupid. So I'd always go around being like, you guys are stupid. Mom's like, where'd you learn that? So did you guys ever have those restrictions, or you kind of just were able to...
I think I was fine watching things. as a child. Like my parents didn't have a problem. The only problem was just video games, but that's not TV shows.
And I will say, and I do think it comes with kind of the generation that we live in. You know, back then, you know, obviously the internet was around when we were kids, but it wasn't as extensive as it was now, and
it wasn't really around.
Yeah, like it was a lot harder for us to kind of stray into these little rabbit holes that, you know, like we had to. Yeah.
To stray in the rabbit holes, you had to get onto your parents' computer.
Exactly.
And your parents had to have a computer, so you had to be at least middle class. You had to have internet, and then after all of that, you had to somehow find it. And there was no YouTube. There was no like streaming sites. That wasn't a thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. No. My parents didn't like stop me from watching anything. I remember they saying one time, they're like, "We don't want you watching Adult Swim," and then I was like, "Okay," and then they fell asleep and I watched it, and at that point they were like, "Go ahead."
And yeah, and like I said, you know, I see it, and it sucks because it is hard to monitor, but you know, you do see these instances where these kids, because you know they know how to use like 6-year-olds, 5-year-olds, they know how to use iPads already, you know, because of the generation that. You see them like go from like watching.
Yeah, my niece that's 1 year.
Yeah, like,
my niece that's 1 year old knows how to work a phone to get to the Mickey Mouse Clubhouse video on my brother's phone. It's ridiculous.
What's scary is, you know, you'll have these kids that are like, let's say that, like they're on YouTube and they're trying to find Mickey, and then Mickey goes from Mickey to Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween, and then Not So Scary Halloween goes to Horror Nights, and then Horror Nights go to every death scene and like, you get me, like. These kids don't have those restrictions that, you know, that we had to filter out when we were younger. So it is a little bit concerning to you know, to be able to kind of preserve that innocence, I guess I would say. But
I turned out just fine. So did you, so did Gabby, so did David. We're fine.
We're all okay. The last sort of, I don't know why I'm blanking out on. Oh yeah, I remember now. The last sort of question that I have for the television sort of topic is, we've talked a little bit about this in the past, but I kind of want to see where you guys stand with it, is having those childhood cartoons and TV shows. How do you feel when they get rebooted or remastered? Do you think there's sort of already a negative aspect before it comes out? Do you think it has the potential to be good, or 96% of the time it's going to be no bueno? Or what do you guys think about that? Tono's been nodding his head, so.
There's so many reboots, I just stopped. Like, I just tune it out. I really don't care about it. I could appreciate that they're bringing it back to a newer audience, but they're also not doing justice to it.
No,
so
of course.
It's just like, what's the point of it?
No, and me and Tono and Fernie talked a little bit about it a while ago, that, you know, some of them are successful because what they intended to do was a different purpose. Like, you can rip on Teen Titans Go, and obviously Teen Titans is another one. I forgot to talk about how important the impact was, but Teen Titans Go accomplished what it wanted to do, which was create a rebooted sort of child-friendly sort of programming.
It created a children's show for early 2000s born kids.
Yeah,
but it is terrible.
Yeah.
For someone who was obviously like born with the original Teen Titans show, which was another show that did not stray from the dark side, and the level of like storytelling that we got from those shows, and then to see Robin flossing and shit, it's like it's just disrespectful. It's just disrespectful.
We went from having a whole episode about Robin dealing with like Slade PTSD to like Robin being like, I wish I had superpowers so I can fly like you guys. You know, it's definitely a change in tone. But yeah, I mean, like I said, and that's nothing against if other people listening to this do like these reboots. You know, it's all based on your perception of it.
If you like the show, the reboots from the other show, it's obviously a product of your time, not mine. Like, if you guys like Teen Titans Go, great. That's awesome for you. But for me, if you guys like Korra more than you like the original Avatar, you're wrong. But that's good for you. But when we were growing up, the stuff that we grew up with, there's nothing that's gonna touch that.
Don't ever disrespect my boy Bolden like that, Dono. I'll leave it.
No, Bolden's fine. But Ong. I called him Ong.
Okay, now we have a problem.
Avatar movie. Aang is better.
Well, I mean,
another movie?
There was a movie? I don't remember there being a movie.
The Avatar movie, the live action movie.
There was that. That's a thing. I don't know what you're talking about.
I get the joke you guys are trying to implore. Yes,
but yeah. So I think we covered the TV show stuff pretty good. So we're gonna be moving on to probably a much more discussable topic, which is kind of the video games that kind of resonated with us and kind of gave us that nostalgia and all that. So the first question I have here is, to your recollection, what is the earliest video game you remember playing?
You want to know mine?
Gabby was ready, so yeah.
You want to know mine? It's
yes.
Brain Age.
Brain Age, interesting. Like that.
My parents don't like video games, and I was having a difficult time in school. So when I was tutoring, my teacher brought like a DS and it had Brain Age, and my mom loved it. She's like, "Oh my god, this is great for
educational."
I taught her education, math, reading, so she bought it for me for Christmas. So I played a bit, but I hate school, so I was like, okay, whatever, education, ill. But my sister got Harvest Moon.
Ooh.
Harvest Moon DS, and I would steal that game from her, and I would play that game for hours and hours and hours. So if I'm gonna have to pick one, it would be Harvest Moon DS.
That's and I think that's an interesting place to start at. Like you hear all these people like mine. I wasn't even really exposed to video games until my brother, my oldest brother, got me. I want to say I was 6 or 7. He got me a Game Boy Color. This was already, I want to say, a year after it came out, and the first game to my recollection I remember playing was definitely a mixture of Pokemon Blue and Mario. And I have memories of, even though I didn't at the time really know, what was going on, like as a kid, you're playing Pokemon, you're like 5, you're like, you kind of have an understanding of what you're doing, but you also really don't. But those are the earliest ones. But I definitely think the GameCube era is definitely where I started processing, and I started kind of, going at it a little bit more. And like I said, I always talk about how much I love Monkey Ball, but Monkey Ball is one of the games that I really remember early on kind of processing, like, all right, this is the objective of the game, this is the control, this is that. Same thing with Mario Sunshine. And as I grew older, I kind of started exploring more. Obviously it's no secret my favorite game is Kingdom Hearts, but Kingdom Hearts 2 was exposed to me because my brother had a PlayStation 2, and his friend had the game one day. He brought it over, and I was like, that's cool. I was like maybe 9 at the time, and I literally saved up my allowance that I had at the time. I walked to GameStop, and I was like, that one. Didn't even know that I bought the second one and not the first one. And then that was kind of where I started processing a little bit more, and kind of my love for RPGs and and all these other story-based games came from. So that's definitely me. What about you, Tono? I know you also had an older brother, so I'm sure there was some exposure there.
So it's kind of tough for me because the first game I ever played, I could say it's a bunch of games, but to tell you the truth, I'm pretty sure my brother just didn't connect the controller. And I was too young to understand. My intro to video games, I really just sat there watching my brother play. I remember playing vaguely the original Super Mario Bros. On the N64. And then I think I was banned from video games for a while because I deleted the save file.
Oh, that'll do.
I was like 6 years old, and then they still let me tell me that I did it. Whatever. And then the GameCube was kind of like the first time I remember like actually playing games. I remember playing Super Smash Brothers. I remember playing the Pokemon XD Coliseum games. I remember playing the Monkey Ball. I remember those kind of games. But to tell you the truth, like the real moment that kind of solidified gaming for me was the Xbox 360. When I got the Xbox 360, I remember the first time taking it to my middle school while my dad set up because he was a teacher, and we would connect it to one of the TVs, and then we would get all of the kids that had parents as teachers, and then we would all play Medal of Honor. And that was a lot of fun. And then obviously like my true love, Halo 3 came out. And then that was the first game that was like, it was my game and not my brother's game.
Thank you for joining, Gabby. You were very insightful.
They said thank you for joining.
But yeah, like it's kind of tough for me because before Halo 3, most games were like me and my brother would both play them. And a lot of the times my brother would play them and I would just watch. So they weren't really my games. Halo 3 was the first game that was like, my brother's like, I have no interest in playing this. Other than like every once in a while. And I was like, cool. And I remember always getting on with my friends to play like the online multiplayer. So that's like, if I had to choose like the game that made my childhood, I would say Halo 3.
Of course. So David, catching you up to speed, we have now shifted
last time I was here, we were talking about shows.
We were talking about Plank and if he was sentient right when you left.
That's true.
But, to catch you up in your expertise, we are talking kind of about the video game that you kind of remember your earliest experience. Maybe not so much the first video game you ever owned, but maybe the earliest recollection of gaming that you have. He's about to pull it out from somewhere.
Oh no! Okay, all right then. I mean, do you want me to?
Well,
or do you want me to go?
No, you can just say it. But like me and Donald were saying how I was saying that my brother got me a Game Boy Color, and so as far as my recollection, my earliest gaming experience was Pokemon Blue and Mario, and how it wasn't until the GameCube era where I started kind of processing more what I was playing and the objectives and remembering storylines. David actually pulled a Game Boy Color from his desk.
David, so that we don't have to like continue. What was the first game you remember playing?
I have a whole shit of. I have.
Okay. There. What was the first one?
The original Sonic the Hedgehog.
There it is. Okay. Now, yeah. Question, David, because me and Donald were mentioning how obviously a lot of the impact came from us having Pokemon Yellow, nice older brothers, yeah. And I know you have an older sister, but I mean, was gaming something that someone kind of introduced you to, or was it something that, as a kid, you kind of just found your way there?
A little bit of both, because like my mom, she liked to play video games, like the old school like video game cabinet one. Her favorite one was always Galaga, and so like she introduced me to that. My favorite one from like those old cabinets was Pac-Man, because I just really love playing Pac-Man a lot. But yeah, after that, like I don't know, that was like the last time, and then after that, like her friend, my mom's like friend's like son, they had like a Sega Genesis, and so then like, I saw them playing Sonic the Hedgehog, and so I'm like, oh, that's cool. And so then like I was like I think it was like a Christmas, if not birthday present, they gave me a Genesis too, and like I literally just played the living shit out of that console so much, just mostly because of Sonic. And then after that, I got like a Nintendo 64. Matter of fact, that Game Boy Color you just saw, that was actually my sister's, and then she just gave it to me because like she wasn't a big fan of video games.
So for context,
yeah, after that just went on.
No, yeah, and that gaming, it kind of does that, and so, but for context, David, because obviously I know that you're a huge Sonic the Hedgehog fan, were you exposed to Sonic first before Mario, or was it kind of they're both at the same time, but you kind of shifted more towards Sonic?
I want to say I got into Sonic first, and then like they introduced me to Mario.
Okay.
But I just liked to play more Sonic more. I decided to play more than the Mario games.
Of course, and Donald, you brought up a good point, and I think it's interesting because this is at least my perspective on it. I think as the older you grow, kind of more the perspective changes on how you do as gaming, because kind of like how we were talking about, we all three kind of found our way to it, whether it was through our, David with like how he was saying how his mom exposed him, and us with our brothers and all that, but as you grow older, your gaming experience changes. A lot of what we do now is kind of play with each other, which was a different experience than we were when we were kids, because, online multiplayer games didn't really become a thing until we were a little bit older, when we were already starting to get into our teens, and the PS3 came out, and the Xbox, what was it, the 360?
360.
The Xbox 360 came out, and, I don't own X. I don't know the title.
Damn, dude, how did you forgot that name?
But it wasn't until we got Call of Duty, and then Battlefield, and then we started getting games that had both story and multiplayer, and some of these story-based games started doing multiplayer. So it is interesting to see now how that, like, perfect example, like, you can shit on it all you want. A kid's first gaming experience can be playing Fortnite online, or playing Angry Birds on their phone, playing.
And I think that's awesome for them. I'm not going to like discount their experience. Like obviously they're living a different life than I did, but I also kind of feel sad for them, because like Fortnite and like Among Us, I guess, now that that's popular, but like these COD games, what other games are like super popular, like multiplayers for kids right now?
For kids,
For like okay, Minecraft, I will give the award
you'll give
the
the
5.
pass.
I will defend that. But like
yeah, like Fortnite,
other games,
Warzone, Call of Duty, like yeah.
My favorite times when I was growing up in multiplayer games was just like screwing around with my friends. It wasn't even playing against people. It wasn't about winning. It wasn't about like being like the top of like having 15 kills on Fortnite or building fast. It was literally about just like getting out of school, doing homework, and then at like 7 o'clock, it was like all the boys, everyone on Xbox 360 were playing Halo 3. And we would make
Halo
these
3 or
random,
Modern Warfare 2.
we would make these random ass maps that we were driving, and we were a duck hunt, and we were laughing so much, and like that's the enjoyment that I feel like some of the kids, like especially with like Fortnite, don't get, and I kind of feel bad for that.
And that offline multiplayer experience is interesting what you say, because it's like you said, you do create
Remember
some
the
of
jump
these
rope
memories.
custom map in Halo?
Oh, the fact that there's no split screen anymore makes me sad.
But like, it's
because
funny.
you will never feel the true like love and hatred of screen hacking,
Which was
my god.
The amount of times that I've caught RJ screen hacking me when we play Call of Duty split screen was unreal. But anyway, it's funny the offline experience that you mentioned, Dono, because I have very vivid memories of me and you in the back room of your house trying to unlock.
Right?
What was the rumor in Melee? That we were trying to unlock? There was like, was it Sonic? There was like a rumored character that you could unlock in Melee.
What it was with you and me is that we heard that Mewtwo's in the game.
Oh yeah, we just didn't know how to unlock Mewtwo.
Back then, obviously, the game had just like come out like recently, and the internet wasn't what it was, and we were like, "How in God's name do we get Mewtwo?"
Yes.
And for the people who don't know, on the GameCube, Smash Brothers Melee, to get Mewtwo, you had to have the game on for 24 hours.
Yeah.
Straight. Not straight. I don't think it's straight. You just have to have played the game for 24 hours, and then you just get Mewtwo.
Yeah.
But as just like two guys like at 10 years old who just like started up the game on a new save file because my brother wouldn't let me play on his. We were unlocking all the characters, and like Evan said, I had this place called the Back Room in my house, and the back room was it was like the man cave for the kids. It was like a kid's room, but like my I didn't have like a playroom.
The amount of Little Caesars that we ate in that room
it was like
was
a
insane.
7-foot by 4-foot room where we had a TV and like 6 chairs, and we would have everyone back there. It had no air conditioning. It was the sketchiest place in the world. But I spent my childhood in that back room, playing all of those video games. God, that brings back memories.
Yeah, memories. Now,
I remember we 100%ed Smash Brothers Melee, and then you and I were like, how do we get Mewtwo? And then one day I remember leaving it on, and you came over. I turned the TV on. And it was like, Mewtwo has arrived, and it was like, what?
Yeah.
And then we found out that it was 24 hours, and I think I honestly cried.
Yeah, and like I said, it's definitely, it depends your experience with gaming and how you have those memories and how you choose to kind of have that experience. I guess the last sort of question I have for the gaming topic, just because I'm curious, because I think about this a lot, which is when you finally did grow up and, you had a little bit more money, you didn't have to rely on, mom and dad buying you video games, what was the very first console or, handheld console that you bought, and did that kind of change your experience with it? Because the very first console that I bought with my own money, like fully my own money, because me and my parents went half on the Wii. It was like money that I saved up from birthdays, but the first console that I bought with all of my money was the PS3. And I think to me that's where my love for PlayStation really, really flourished. Because like I said, my brother had a PS2, so I was always very exposed to PlayStation, but once I bought my own console, it it felt that gaming was a thing that I was a part of now. Because I was now spending money on the games that I wanted. It didn't have to be that you had to rely on, if someone gave you a game, or, if it was, in Don Ormi's case, like a brother gave it to you, or, you borrowed it from a friend. That as you got older and you started kind of buying your own games and figuring out what you liked, did that sort of change your perception, or, how did that change for you guys?
So the first console I ever bought was the Nintendo Switch. I had never bought I had never bought a console beforehand.
No,
I literally conned my way into so many consoles. It was ridiculous. For example, me and my brother, we still make a joke out of it. For Father's Day,
I was about to say that story.
For Father's Day,
I remember that very vividly.
Me and my brother are assholes. I'm just exposing us. For Father's Day, me and my brother told my dad, I think you should get us an Xbox. And my dad was like, I remember having sitting down, and me and my brother had like a well thought out thesis on why, and my dad was like
a PowerPoint presentation,
and we were like, Dad, we play video games all the time, and we're always in the back room, and we can never play with you because you don't play the video games with us, and we think that if we get the Xbox and we don't know how to play the Xbox, you don't know how to play the Xbox, if we learn together, Dad, we'll be able to play together, and you'll be able to spend more time with us. My dad was like, that's a well thought out thesis. I'm going to go buy you guys an Xbox. So on Father's Day, we were at GameStop. My dad bought us an Xbox. My dad bought us 3 controllers. My dad bought us the first Halo game. And I remember my dad spent all of 5 minutes playing the first Halo game on multiplayer. And he's like, I can't figure it out. And he never played a video game ever again.
I was going to say, I imagine him touching and going, all right, I'm going to head out here. You boys go enjoy.
My dad couldn't figure out, he had grown up with the cabinets and Mario was his thing. He couldn't figure out the 3D movement. He couldn't figure out one joystick was to move the camera and the other one was to move your character. It just, and my dad does say, he's like, I should have given him more of a chance. But I really at the end of the day, I was just proud you guys came up with a good arguments, and that you guys stuck together on it.
I was about to say, as your dad being,
me and my brother didn't get along back then.
Your dad being in the law field was probably more impressed that you covered all your bases.
Yeah, but yeah, my dad never played a video game again with us. It's a funny story, but yeah, my Xbox 360, my brother, I got for my birthday. My PS3, my brother got for his for Christmas. My Xbox One and my PS4 were gifts from my ex, and then the Switch was the first time I had big boy money. Enough to and not have to spend it on bills and stuff. But I was like, I really want a Switch. I'm gonna buy it. I don't consider a PC that, because I guess it's not.
It's a different unit. It's not. Yeah,
because I bought a PC first and played the living hell out of League of Legends. But if we're talking about specific consoles, yeah, it was the Nintendo Switch.
That's good. And what about you, David? Did you have an earlier console other than the Switch, or what was your sort of first big boy purchase with video games?
Let's see, the first console I ever bought with my own money was the Xbox 360.
I never even knew you owned an Xbox.
I owned a 360. I did own a 360.
That's my favorite console ever.
Yeah, it was my first one because Genesis was Christmas, Nintendo 64 was a handy-down, Color, PSP was also handy-downs. Never owned a PlayStation 1 or 2, so yeah, it was that.
Shameful. Shameful.
I've owned every freaking console.
But yeah, no, 360 was the first one, and the first 2 games I bought was Halo 3 and Soul Calibur 4.
I don't know why.
And I played...
Less of a good choice, but Halo 3...
I was expecting David to be like, my first game I got for the Xbox was Viva Pinata, and... But
Now I heard reviews about Halo 3 at that time, and people were saying like it's a really good game, so I wanted to try it out. And also, I wanted to try Soul Calibur because like there were like guest characters there, and this one was Star Wars. I'm like, all right, I'll give it a try.
I was gonna say, was this the Soul Calibur with Yoda and Darth Vader?
Yes, and you get the apprentice too.
And you get the apprentice. Yeah. So yeah, no, that's a good Soul Calibur to start on.
Yeah, and then that's how I fell in love with the Soul Calibur series. But yeah, I played the living hell out of Halo 3 so much.
Now, just a question, because since you mentioned this was the first console that you purchased, did you know at the time kind of the differences between PlayStation and Xbox? Was this something you had your eye out for a while, or was Halo the reason you got it, or was there a specific motive driving you to get this Xbox at the time?
Everyone just said go get an Xbox.
That's fair. I'll give you
Xbox 360 was better than PS3.
At the time.
I can't.
At the time, Xbox 360 was better.
I can't
The only thing that the PS3
online was free. It had all the games.
That PS3 had that Xbox 360 wish it had was free online.
No, but like I had Halo.
You don't have to waste more money to get an adapter if you want it wireless.
See that?
That's right. But that was old. But like the Xbox 360 was better in my opinion. Like it had Halo. It had like those other games. I remember a big thing for the Xbox 360 was the Banjo-Kazooie remake or the new one that you can make like vehicles.
Nuts and bolts, yeah.
Nuts and bolts, and people were like crazy for that game. Wasn't the Star Wars game the one that you're like an apprentice of the dark side?
No, that was on
only
both.
an Xbox game?
No, that was on
it was on both.
But I think this was the time where like exclusive content started coming out for consoles, and I think Xbox had like a bonus mission or something.
I mean, Xbox had Halo, and that obviously was just far and away. And then the PS4 came out and destroyed Microsoft.
Yeah, and then
we'll see what the new.
Yeah, I was gonna say now we're at PS5, and I already forgot the name of the new one. Xbox X.
Xbox Series X.
Xbox Series X.15S. I don't know.
Yeah,
there's like 100.
So we'll see how that goes. So good discussion on the video games. It seems we all have very similar but a little bit different experiences. So the last one I wanted to touch on, because it's not as extenuous as the other two, but it's still something cool to talk about, which is kind of the toys and card games that kind of grew up with us, that kind of are still around and our experience. So right off the bat, I need to fuel the war. Pokemon, Digimon, or Yu-Gi-Oh?
Yu-Gi-Oh.
David's like all of them. Almost like Yu-Gi-Oh. I was like, don't know. I was a little bit of both. I don't remember this.
I watched all of them.
No, well, not watched. Just in terms of like the.
I thought we were talking about card games.
Yeah.
I thought we were talking about card games.
Fuck.
Because I watched all of them.
A card game?
Probably.
I don't know.
I remember the Digivices being a thing.
Listen, Yu-Gi-Oh for card games. Who cares about Digimon? We don't even know.
Card games? Oh yeah, Yu-Gi-Oh all the way.
Yu-Gi-Oh wins, and then Pokemon if you're collecting. Because I remember I loved collecting the Pokemon cards. And like showing my friends like the binders, like I have like 7 shiny Charizards. But then for if we're like doing actual combat, Yu-Gi-Oh, I had all the pieces of Exodia. And the card that summoned all of them wherever. So there was this spell card, and I can't remember for the life of me what it was.
What did it look like?
I just remember what it did because it was
it green? Was it?
I don't remember. I remember that it was brown because that was the color of the cards. I would put it, the text literally read, If you place this down as a trap card and it is activated, you summon all 5 pieces of Exodia from your hand or deck. And I'm like, what? So you just had to have all 5 pieces in, and I would literally like stack my deck with Pots of Greed, and like just draw until I had the 5 pieces. I mean that one card. And then I would just win the game, and it was so stupid.
Dono used to get mad at me because a lot of my Pokemon and Yu-Gi-Oh cards were like hand-me-downs from like my brothers, and my brothers were teenagers at the time already, so they didn't really collect them as much, but like they inherited them from like other people. Dono used to get mad because I had a deck of like 30 cards that were in Japanese, and because none of us
Wait a minute.
He would just make up shit. It wasn't
like,
wait, so you did this to Dono? Oh wait, so I remember you told me this story about it. You said like to a friend, and Dono was the friend.
Dono was one of them.
You never told me it was Dono.
That was the number one person that did this.
Dono,
but the thing is that I started to catch on.
Yeah, like
because I had a friend. It still pisses me off.
And it would be bad because it would be like, I would summon, mind you, it's not like the cards look differently. They were in Japanese. So I would put like Japanese Toon World and be like, this card destroys everything in your deck. I thought it would be like, that's such a good card.
No. He puts it down. He's like, all monsters in your deck and hand automatically go to the graveyard. And like me, who's like, well, this is like one of my best friends. Sure. I was like, yeah, okay. And I went through my deck and just discarded all the cards. And then after a while, I started to catch on. I was like, are you kidding me?
But,
like, no.
Oh my god.
But, you know, what's interesting about, you know, kind of the toys and the cards from back in our day is that, like, some of them either never really went out. Like, you know, Pokemon Yu-Gi-Oh! Has never died off. It's just evolved. And then also, you know, you have some of these toys that kind of go away for a while and then have a resurgence. Like, for some reason, Beyblades came back. And I don't know why, but Beyblades just, one day when I was a summer camp counselor, I see this kid with a Beyblade and I had to stop and go, is that a Beyblade? And he goes,
I don't think Beyblades ever went anywhere. I think they just always did a thing.
I think they died out, but like they never went away and then they just resurged.
You know what? And obviously it wasn't part of my childhood because it came out later. But what I didn't understand, I didn't understand those Bakugans.
Bakugans were amazing. I had all of them. But Bakugan,
I used to have it.
I couldn't understand throwing the little ball and it actually stopping, and I was never able to do it.
The cards are magnetic, so it like
the cards are magnetic, so that's how you do it.
Guys, I'm not stupid. I understand the concept and how they did it, but in my ninth grade taking care of summer camp kids, and they were like throwing these like little balls perfectly every time across tables, and it would stop on the card perfectly in the middle of the card and then deploy. And I was like, sure, I'll try it. And the freaking Bakugan ball would just like fucking yeet itself into whatever direction I didn't want it to go. I'm sorry. Those things pissed me off.
Yeah, so let it be known, any Bakugan fans right now, Tono has a deep hatred of Bakugan. But what about, and I think this is a little bit more interesting, what's like a toy that maybe was popular back when we were kids that you just either never got or like you never understood? For me, it was definitely the Tech Decks. I never had one, and I was like, it's like a little skateboard for your fingers, but like that's it. Like what else?
Dude, it was cool.
I had like all of them. And
I had a Tech Deck. That was cool.
Yeah, definitely Tech Decks. Another thing that's also, me and Donald were talking about it the other. Actually, no, David was there too. Something that's also kind of evolved into a much larger spectrum was Nerf guns. Nerf guns started off as like you get like a little tiny pistol that shoots one, and now it's just like, hey, we have a heat-seeking, motion-tracking grenade launcher Nerf gun that like murders your wife and children if you say anything other than the word tomato. Like it's insane.
Let's not talk about Nerf guns because Toto will literally buy like packs for all of us.
Toto almost bought like $300.
I'm hijacking the podcast. So we were thinking for Nerd Slice to do this like in-person like Nerf gun type of situation where we were playing like Among Us but in person. And then we were talking like, how would you do it? And I was like, well, what we would do is that everyone had a Nerf gun and only the imposter would use the Nerf gun. But then I started so I always take things to like the extreme, and I started to search up like we were all talking. I was like, in my head, I was like, I wonder if there's custom Nerf guns. And so I was going down, and there's this $300 Nerf gun that is a Barrett 50 cal, but the Nerf gun uses air.
It's an air
and
compressor.
At that point, if you're using an air compressor, you're not a Nerf gun. You're a paintball gun.
Yeah.
Or you're a BB gun. You're not a Nerf gun. But apparently this thing could shoot like 300 meters away. And I just imagine like we doing this video for Nerd Slice, and everyone is like being serious. They have like these little Nerf guns, even like the new ones that like are automatic. And I'm 300 yards away just sniping fools. And oh God.
What's kind of messed up is, have you seen the people that they take out the tips of the Nerf gun and put tacks on them?
That's screwed.
That's I've seen people do that. I'm like, that's terrifying.
That is mean.
I just imagine just like shooting David from like 30 feet, and David just stops, looks down, and he goes, "What is this?" But no, yeah, I mean, definitely. Any more? What about this? What was your, before we finish the toy discussion, what do you think was your favorite toy growing up? Whether it was, a card game, a specific toy, Is there one that kind of sticks out, or did they all kind of come and go? You're both, all three of us are just kind of just blanking out on this.
I mean, for me, video games were honestly like eventually the thing that I like. If I was going to Toys R Us, I was in the video game section. I mean, I'd have to go I'd have to go all the way to the beginning of my life and be like, I really like the G.I. Joe figurines when I was like 6. But I really didn't like toys. I really liked
what about you, David?
You okay?
Nerfs.
Nerf.
Let's see. I'm actually trying to think. I did have like a phase of like me collecting like wrestling action figures, because I was like those little kids who like to watch wrestling, and then I got bored of it. Then I got Nerf guns, and then I got bored of that, and then yeah.
No, that's fair. And I think toys are a little different because, like you said, as you grow older, you kind of have more memories of the more interactive elements. I remember, and Donald probably remembers this too. I had. Okay, we're gonna throw it back to the cartoon for like a fat second. Do you guys remember the Jackie Chan cartoon?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you remember the old man that he would fight with a blowfish?
What?
He had like a little puffer fish that he would.
Oh my god, I do remember this.
He would go like, oh, hey, hi, hi, he, hi. He would like chant something.
Yes.
I had that toy, and it was a puffer fish that it would glow. It was confiscated from elementary school, and to this day, I still not have gotten it back, along with my science fair project.
Yep. And I think it was confiscated because you and I got into a fight.
Yeah, I literally almost beat Dono. I almost beat Dono over the head.
You were trying to hit me.
Yeah.
And then like I was being a dumbass because that's how we were back then. And then you and I started to like steal it from each other and smack each other as hard as possible
with a hard plastic toy. So it's not like
with a hard plastic like pufferfish toy. And I remember being in the office, both of us like looking at the grounds, and the principal like smacking it on the table and be like, "Are you kidding me?"
But yeah, that's definitely there. But actually, that can actually segue into our first fan questions, which, by the way, guys, you can keep sending your fan questions over to our Twitter at The Nerd Slice, our Instagram at The Nerd Slice, or anywhere else, or, comment on our YouTube videos even that we just started posting. So our first question here comes from Minty Miniatures, and he wants to know, did you guys ever keep or trash any of your old toys and cards? So kind of the same discussion that we're talking about. Cards, I do still have a few of my, it's a really weird collection. I have Zatch Bell cards still. I have a Naruto card still. I have a few Pokemon. I gave most of my Pokemon ones to my nephew, and a few Yu-Gi-Oh cards.
This is probably like the oldest thing I have.
That's fair.
Literally.
What about cards? You don't have any, maybe like some of your old Pokemon or Yu-Gi-Oh cards or anything?
Nope, don't have them.
Okay.
I still have my Pokemon and Yu-Gi-Oh cards. I also have like sports cards, but that's my brother's stuff. I still have my Yu-Gi-Oh cards somewhere, and I still have my Pokemon cards in like a binder.
Okay.
Because I'm kind of waiting until they like worth money.
All right, that's fine. So our next question here comes from Kelly with 3 Z's, and she wants to know, what do you guys think about the theory that Timmy Turner is Danny Phantom in the future?
Oh wait, Kelly with 3 Z's?
Yes, it's Kelly and then Z, like Kelly Z.
Oh, I was like, how do you spell Kelly with 3 Z's?
You're like, where's the Z? But yeah, she wants to know the theory, which I've seen this theory going around a lot, that Timmy Turner is just Danny Phantom younger, which is a very interesting concept. I mean, I don't know in the retrospect how that theory would work, because obviously his parents are like, they're shown, so it's like it wouldn't be his same parents. So I did see a lot of people go in depth that like Timmy's last wish was to like still grow up living in like a fantastical world, and that's why he was like grown up and put into kind of the Danny Phantom world and all that. I mean, obviously the biggest connection is that both shows are made by Butch Hartman, so it's like, obviously, you know.
I think it's a stretch.
But you know, there are the theories where they say that Tucker is TJ, that Chester is the what was his name? Dash, the bully? I don't remember his name. I think it was Dash. And that San is Trixie, and that obviously Danny is Timmy. But I mean, I think it'd be an interesting theory. I see a lot of, you know, we were talking, that could be another list we do for another day, which is all these cartoon sort of theories with, you know, Timmy Turner and then Courage the Cowardly Dog being from a dog's perspective. Like, there's a bunch of really, really interesting cartoon theories. So if that's something you guys want to see, let us know and send our way, because I know we can be here for hours talking about theories like that. But yeah, no, thank you for the question. So our next question here comes from Aesthetica. And she wants to know, did you guys have the Yu-Gi-Oh card toys that go on your wrist? You're talking about dual disc, and I actually did own one. And fun fact,
I also did own a
I
dual disc.
have
I just
no idea
don't know where it is.
I have no idea where it went. Like, I don't own it anymore.
Yes, it is your question.
I don't. Yeah, this is Gabby's question. I don't remember where it went. I don't remember ever giving it away. I'm convinced maybe like Donald broke into my house and stole it. But Donald's just like, bro, I already had one. But yeah,
I did have one.
But as a kid, and I know that Donald and obviously David can attest to this, as a kid playing Yu-Gi-Oh, nothing felt more powerful than going like this, whipping out your dual disc and just placing a card on it. And it had like an automatic sound effect where every time you put a card, it would just be like face down, like it would say stuff to you. So you honestly felt like you had 7-foot spiky hair and that you were like playing with holograms.
And you could press a button and be like, heart of the cards. Oh my god.
The one thing, I think they added this into like the later like models, like when we grew up, but the one thing I remember it not having was a calculator, which would have been very helpful as a kid. Because let's be honest, as a kid, you BS that. If someone's like, you take 300 damage, you're like, you take 9,000 damage, and you're like, well, that's a lot of damage. That's a lot of damage. So, but yes, thank you, Aesthetica. You can say it to her right there, David. Thank you, Gabby, for the question.
They say thank you for the question.
And our next question here comes from DWet13, better known as the other person on this podcast, David. And his question.
It's not even a question.
his question is, did you like the live action Pink Panther?
Oh yeah, that is a question.
Very straight. First off, it's a hamburger. Yes, of course I love the live action.
Burger.
It's a burger, hamburger. What's funny is as a kid, I didn't even realize that it was based off something because, you know, I was like 8 years old and I was just like, this is a funny PG movie with Steve Martin. But it's such a random question, David.
I remember that. I remember a kid I was watching the shit out of the live action Pink Panther. It was fucking good.
That's fair.
It's an important question.
It is an important question.
Burger.
I actually think I need to check because I think I had one more question saved here and I don't remember where it was on.
Look for someone with the name of, oh, it's you.
Oh, it's you.
I know how you remember these quotes, and I remember watching the movie and loving the movie, but for the life of me, I can't remember that movie at all.
Oh my god!
I haven't watched that movie.
Just watch it. It is
decade. I haven't watched that movie in a good decade, dude.
Yeah,
it's worth the watch.
There was a sequel too, wasn't there?
There was a sequel to it. It's not that funny, but
yeah,
there is a sequel to it. There is.
That's crazy. Pink Panther's probably a thing they're also going to remake eventually. My last question here comes from Evan himself to both of you.
Oh man,
we were talking earlier about kind of, you know,
you should have asked the question.
You know the Twitter, you got the Instagram, but the last question kind of we touched a little bit on earlier. I think this was already when David stepped away. Was kind of this whole remaking of our childhood games and movies and shows and all that. What's one thing that you would want to see sort of rebooted? Whether it's a video game, a toy, a show, a movie. I've mentioned this a few times already. I would love to see Sly Cooper come back to life. Sly Cooper was a game that I grew up with a lot. I have really fond memories. That was kind of also a hand-me-down from a friend of mine that he gave me all the games. And, you know, with all these games like, you know, like Jack and Dexter is another one I think, but also you have Crash Bandicoot, Spyro. You have these games sort of resurging. I think Sly Cooper would definitely be a really good thing, especially now with the graphics that they have now. Like a Sly Cooper playstyle with these modern graphics would be amazing. What about you guys? Is there a game or show or anything in general that you would like to kind of see come back to life?
I would like to say Ed, Edd n Eddy, but I'm afraid.
You think it would get the modern Cartoon Network treatment that all these other shows are getting?
Exactly.
It's fair. But if they kept it to the same style, because some shows do kind of go back to that. Fernie always talks about it. I think it's a good point. How Samurai Jack had that sequel season, which I think kind of showed that a project can kind of still come back. With that very similar style and kind of resurge. So if Ed, Edd n Eddy came back in its sort of old form but with new graphics, would you be okay with that?
I gotta see it.
I would. The only complaint I would have is that they have to put in more Ralph, because Ralph was amazing.
Ralph was hilarious. Him, Victor, Ed with his butter toast.
Life is when he does it, boy. Confess to your crimes.
Ed with his butter toast and his chickens.
Didn't he eat a playground one time? I feel like he ate a playground.
I think that's the episode. I think you're talking about the episode where they literally broke the fucking wall.
That's fair. But what about you, Tono? Obviously, me and you always talk about nostalgia.
I would love them to make reboot a good Pokemon game.
A good Pokemon game?
Yeah, so Pokemon for me died after Platinum. No, Diamond and Pearl were fine.
I mean, Platinum was after Diamond and Pearl.
Oh, it was. Yeah, you're right. Black and White. Some people like that.
I like
but
Black and White.
Does anybody remember the Pokemon Mystery Dungeon show?
Yes. I do, yeah.
And fun fact, I think it's...
No, okay. I have a right answer. A good answer. I want them to reboot the Pokemon Ranger games, because those games slapped. I'm sorry, those games slapped.
All I'm gonna say is Pokemon Ranger on Switch would work. You got the controls. Dude, you just rotate the left stick.
Motion controls, and you can do it. Nintendo. I got ideas.
Yeah, Nintendo.
I don't know about that motion control, dude. Super Mario Galaxy's giving PTSD right now.
Bro.
I said this. I think I was.
I'm sorry. Those Ranger games were freaking fantastic. They had no business being that good.
I was gonna put out a tweet today because I think playing Sunshine with Drift is the biggest rage I think I've ever had in my entire video game experience.
Oh, dude, play Galaxy with motion control, dude.
You guys, everyone listening or watching should really check out Nerd Slice's stream when he's playing Sunshine, because it is probably the best dose of serotonin I have ever had.
Oh my god!
Him fighting. What is that plant called?
I don't want to talk about. What is? I do not want to talk about Petty Piranha. Petty Piranha can go die in a hole.
Petty Piranha. The fight that he had with Petty Piranha. Let me tell you, it was
so funny.
I was having a bad day.
Is Oscar worthy.
Oh my God.
I was having a bad day, and to see a man slowly descend into darkness because of
David clipped the moment where it was literally I had one health, right? And I beat him. I finally beat him after dealing with motion controls, after dealing with having, which by the way, stupidest change. I'm gonna go on Mario Land now.
There's no motion control in Sunshine.
Not motion control,
it's a GameCube control.
But they changed, and everyone's complaining about this. That the fact that you have to because obviously in the original game it was pressure sensitive, right? So when you wanted to stop and aim where your water went, you just hold it down longer, right? But no, this game it's a different button, and it doesn't change the camera angle. So you have to just kind of figure out where the water's gonna go. And let me tell you, the amount of rage-inducing heat that I went when I finally beat him, and the fucking little minion killed me, and I had to restart over. I'm gonna clip that. I'm gonna post it on TikTok. I'm gonna post it somewhere because I've never had so much rage in my entire life.
It was so funny. And to watch him descend slowly into madness because of this stupid.
He was like finally to.
Yeah, and I threw everything. So this is gonna segue into what I'm gonna start calling the plug, where we're just gonna shamelessly plug where you can find all of our information on that. So as I mentioned earlier on, if you have any questions or just any topics you want us to talk about, you can tweet us at the Nerd Slice on Twitter. You can find us on Instagram at the Nerd Slice. We have a TikTok where I mostly post kind of little highlights, maybe some scenes that you guys haven't seen before, a little bit of everything. And we are finally now starting to post back again on our YouTube. We have a few different stuff. We're going to be collabing here again with Dono. We're going to be collabing with David. We have a very, very funny Halo video coming out soon, so definitely check that out. But that's my stuff. Dono, shameless plug. You got 30 seconds. Let's go.
If you want to find me on social media, it's at Jack Films. If you want to find my YouTube channel or Twitch, it'll be at Jack Prog, and I am in the works on making another YouTube channel on kind of just like films, anime, books, and all that type of stuff because I wanted to find a place to just rant. And that'll be out probably next podcast, so I'll probably have Nerd Slice shamelessly plug for me.
And David, who is now going to be joining the streaming world, where do you have a name picked out? Where can people find this when you go live? He wasn't ready for this.
I was not ready for this. I was not expecting you to do this at all.
That's fine.
Twitch.tv/David is a loser. That's pretty much it.
Is that actually what you officially decided?
I mean, yeah.
Right.
What else do you want me to put?
Please tune into his stream and tell him that he's not a loser.
Yes. Support his love because his girlfriend's already going to be there making sure that he is supported along with the rest of us. So definitely check out my good friends here. Thank you both of you as always for coming on, and hopefully we'll see you guys in the next podcast.